This is the Heavy Hitter Club channel.
Okay, first thing you're wanting to do when you download the zip file is I like to put it in its own folder. So I created this one called just content creation. That way everything stays contained in its own folder, the sheets and everything that go with it. First thing you're going to do is extract, and I'm going to put it in the same folder. You can see here now I've extracted the program. So I've got the program, the input sheet that you'll need to use. For the input sheet, we'll go over it first. What you're going to do is when you're ready to submit a keyword, you'll just make sure this column here has an X, or just anything. Just it can be an X, yes, whatever you want to put. So if you put X here, the software is going to go to this line, see if there's an X, and then execute that line. And then for keyword, this is where you're going to put your keyword. So let's do in-ground pool. Let's just say, okay, and I'll get rid of these. So what it'll do is it'll check this file, look to say it's ready, grab this keyword, and it'll come back and it'll fill this stuff in. And it'll come back and it'll put, the software will put status of completed here. That way, if you want to go ahead and add a bunch of keywords, and you only want to submit this first one, if you just put an X here, it doesn't matter if these are here. It will always make sure that this is filled out and this is empty before it runs that line. So now that I have this ready to do that word, we'll save it, close it, and now we're going to open the software. When you open the software, the first thing you're going to want to do is put your license key in. So let me grab my license key. And then it'll open up the generator. Next thing you want to do is make sure to set your OpenAI key. So let me go ahead and grab this and set my OpenAI key. Okay. And then here, it's very simple. You're going to pick whether you want to use GPT, the 3.5 or 4. 4 is more expensive. 3.5 I tend to use when I'm writing content. It works pretty good. So for this one, I'll just use 3.5. And I'm going to select my file. And I'm going to select the content input file. Say OK. And then we start. And you can see back here in the this terminal panel, you can see it'll kind of give you a rundown of what's going on. So let's do an in-ground pool. It's currently creating the outline for this software, created the outline, and now it's going to write an article based on this outline. Now there will be delays between things. I put in time delays so that you don't overpower your OpenAI API key. So when it sits here for a little while, that's perfectly normal. And then when it goes from row to row, it'll also, I think it waits like 45 seconds to a minute between each row that it writes. So you can set this up where you've got several rows of keywords that say ready, and it'll go through and it'll work on them. So I'm going to pause this while it finishes, and I'll come back and show you the output. Okay, now the article has been written. It takes, I don't know, between 5 and 10 minutes. Just depends on how quickly OpenAI is working as well, and the delays. And if you do get an OpenAI error, it will show here in the terminal. You'll see a bunch of little coding mumbo jumbo here, but it'll normally say, and you'll see somewhere where it talks about OpenAI not connecting or returning an error. If that happens, you can just close the software, reset your input sheet, and then start over. Okay, so now that's done. Let's look at the output. Okay, so first it updates the file. So you can see here where it's done, now it says it's completed. So you can use the same file and just leave that row there. It will now not redo that row unless you move that term completed and clear that out. But if you wanted to now do these next, you could just put X's here and you could resubmit the same sheet, and that would only do those 2 rows. That way you can kind of keep a running tab. And in here, it has the keyword you used, has the outline, term glossary, AI output. So this is in Markdown. Here's converted to HTML. And then terms glossary is if. So I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So right here where we have user term inputs. So if there's keywords, so we got the keyword in-ground pool. if you wanted to utilize other terms that you wanted to submit to the AI to say within the article, try to use these terms, you want to put those in there comma separated. So let's say we wanted to put liner, comma, diving board, comma, ladder. So you put that in there, and the content generator will write an article about this, and will tell the AI to also try to use those terms in the article. If it doesn't use those terms, then what it'll do is it'll grab the terms it did not use, and it'll make a terms glossary if you want to put that at the bottom, just to make sure you get all your terms used. But I forgot to mention that, but that's how that user term inputs would work. So that's how the sheet works. It also does an output into these content exports. So then you can get a text file with the name of the keyword, and then what it does, it gives you the markdown article version. It gives you, here's the glossary in markdown format, but we didn't have a glossary, so it just says no terms. Here's the outline it used. And then here is the HTML glossary, article. And then the HTML terms glossary. And there was no terms, so there isn't one for there. But that's basically how the content creation system works.
This is the Heavy Hitter Club channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell.